What up, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. So we have the wife of the president of Sierra Leone, Fatima Bio. She is 44 years old and she had a very interesting speech that we are going to get into. Now, on this shot, we have the husband, who is the president of Sierra Leone, Julius Bio, standing right next to the president, the newly inaugurated president of Senegal, Ousmane Faye. Is that his name? Yeah, Bassirou Faye, my bad. Now, Bassirou Faye is 44 years old. Mr. Julius Bio is 59 years old. Now, me being a critique of African politicians, the first thing that I see in this photo is an obese president. I'm telling you the truth, this plays a crucial role because it tells you how disciplined an individual is. And I'm not here to completely flame this individual. You need to understand that looking obese to many African people in many African societies is a sign of wealth and good living, which is absolutely ridiculous. There is nothing that can be further from the truth. If you are looking obese and the rest of your citizens are skinny because they are hungry, but you are their leader, that to me is suspicious. I haven't heard a lot of Sierra Leoneans complain about him, but I am complaining about Africa because Africa needs to be in a better position. We already have everything needed to put us in a very comfortable state. We have the largest arable land in the world, largest deposit of most crucial natural resources, minerals in the entire planet, but we are still the poorest people in the world. How come that is? That's why the African Wahala exists in the first place. So going back to Mr. Julius Bio, in my opinion, you should have more discipline as an individual, as a leader, and that should reflect on your own body. You shouldn't be looking this way as a president. Secondly, I came across this article from January of 2023 by Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. It explains that the president of Sierra Leone was omitted from a public audit without any explanation given. So basically, some institutions in Sierra Leone responsible for transparency and fighting against corruption, they decided to audit public office holders, but for some reason, the president of Sierra Leone was omitted. If that doesn't raise a red flag, I don't know what does to you. But to me, I wasn't even waiting to find this article. Just looking at what he physically looks like is enough reason for me to be suspicious. Now, let's go to the wife of the president, Fatima Bio. She's 44 years old, beautiful lady. She had a very interesting speech, which is an opportunity for many people to be educated as far as the political relationship between African politicians and the Western politicians, even the Eastern politicians. I'm talking about the Chinese and the Russians. Obviously, the Western politicians, United States of America, Western Europe. The relationship between African politicians and politicians from these other regions, she explains it in a very educative manner. I'll let you listen.
And when you fight and say, no, we are not going to do this, they use the system to stop you. It's either they set you up with the opposition and they'll be supporting the opposition against you from the back, or they cause unnecessary chaos in your country so that you are not able to even govern your own people. They will do things to make you not to be functionable. And of course, any country that don't have peace cannot develop. You have to have peace before you talk about development. I'll give you a simple example about Sierra Leone. Every mining company that is in Sierra Leone today is owned by a foreigner. Every mining company. If it's not the Chinese, it's the American, it's the British. Our electricity, Bumuda, is run by the British, and we still don't have light. We're looking for light. Electricity If you don't have electricity, how can you talk about education? How can you talk about health facility? How can you talk about improving the infrastructure of your country? We don't have electricity. Now, do we actually even have proper water, pipe-borne water, so that our kids will not be sick? We don't have those facilities. Why? With all the minerals we have, there is a cap you put. Before my husband became the president of Sierra Leone was benefiting, they said, what's the word? 0.000.1%. What is that? Basically, a company can take as much as $100 million out of the country in terms of minerals, and then they can just give the country $10,000. Now, what will $10,000 do for our health system? What is $10,000 do for our educational system? And these are the things I believe that are stopping Africa from progressing. We don't have a say. The sense about us celebrating independence, I don't know why we celebrate independence, because we are not free.
I really appreciate her speech, even though it was a little bit ironical. She was speaking to a European-looking person, but she said the truth. And if there is anything that I 1000% agree with, is that we shouldn't be celebrating no independence. Because if after 61, 65 years of independence, African countries are still forced to take leaders that are imposed on them, I'm talking about puppets of Western governments imposed on African leaders and forced down our throats. If after 61 years we're still going through that, then we need to do something about ourselves from the inside. It's no longer those people's fault. It's now our fault, because it's our responsibility. How do we know the game plan of the imperialists and we still continuously fall into their trap? There is no excuse for that in 2024. I appreciate the fact that she spoke about that, but it is what it is. She also spoke about how Western powers sow seeds of discord amongst African people, and it leads to conflicts and chaos, which inhibits growth and development. Yes, just like I explained about the first point, we already know their game plan. As African people today, well, for those of us that are a little bit enlightened, we know what the people are playing against us, and we know the consequences. And we should be ready for that, especially the people that are trying to go into political offices. You are trying to go into political office. Number one, you should be enlightened and educated about how the world politics plays. It shouldn't come to a surprise to you that Western powers, and these days Eastern powers, Chinese, Russians, everybody is looking for a way to influence our political structure so that they can impose their puppets as our leaders. You should be aware of that if you're trying to get into politics in 2024. So there is no excuse. And to me, it sounds a little bit, I don't want to be too harsh, but it sounds a little bit irresponsible for a leader to be explaining to the world why this is going on. But at the same time, it's good that she explained what she did, so I'm not going to be too harsh. She spoke about how electricity supply, the companies responsible for electricity supply, water supply, are controlled by the British, even after 60 years of independence, and they still have no electricity. And that is the same problem in countries like Nigeria and many other West African countries. No electricity 60 years after independence. Why? Okay, the blame is, British companies are responsible for controlling our electricity. Then why don't you take it away from them? Take it away from the British guys. Yes, it comes with consequences. The British imperialist government is going to try to use violence. They will try to assassinate. They will try to do anything possible to make sure that you don't take away that power from them. But as a leader going into that political office, you should be ready for these consequences. being in a leadership position, especially in a world region that is extremely volatile, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. You know this popular proverb, to whom much is given, much is expected. Yes, that's exactly what it is. You guys should already know the game plan of the imperialists, and you should be ready for any contingency. Okay, if you are able to take away power from these guys, and their plan, their next move in the chess game is to use assassination, use political divisions, sow seeds of discord among the people, you should be ready for that as African leaders. That's how it's supposed to be. You don't need to be coming around and be explaining to us that oh it's not our fault, it's the Europeans, it's the imperialists, it's France. No, we already know those guys. Their job is to destroy us so that they can survive, and it's our responsibility to protect ourselves from them because they are the pests. It's really that simple. So you going into a leadership position, you should be ready for that. If a company can take out $100 million from Sierra Leone and just return $10,000, which means that the Sierra Leonean people only benefit 0.0001% of the money that a foreign company is taking out of Sierra Leone, that should be stopped as well. You already know that this is how it has been since independence, since the fake independence in 1961. Then why are you still falling into the same trap over and over again? Meanwhile, while falling into the trap, you are wealthy. Oh yeah, you are a beneficiary of being in the politics of Sierra Leone. Obviously, your husband, we can tell he's a little bit on the big side. It looks like he's having a nice time in life, while easily 70% of Sierra Leoneans are living in poverty. So you have no excuse. So that's my take on the speech, although I ended up being super critical of the First Lady and her husband, which wasn't really my intention. But a time has to come amongst African people where we just have to, we have to we have to use another approach. We don't need to be giving these guys soft hands. We don't need to be allowing them make excuses. You are the one that chose that position. You chose to run for presidency. Nobody. It's about the responsibility that you have as a leader, and you should be ready to put your best foot forward. You should have come in prepared, well educated about what you're getting yourself into, and be ready for the consequences of making decisions that will be beneficial for your people and your society.